You're listening to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Oh, we're on. Oh, and away we go. Just taking some notes here. Welcome back to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast, the only podcast in the whole wide world that brings the firehouse kitchen table and all the shenanigans and hijinks and stories and everything that goes with the firehouse kitchen table. We're back. First self-proclaimed goddamn best podcast in the whole wide world. Yep, I said it.
Come on,
Ruffy's
man.
back.
What'd you say about my wife?
Ruffy's got a couple of layers on.
What'd you say about my wife?
I'll go Will Smith on you, bro. I don't give a shit.
That's gonna be the new thing, right? You're gonna go Will Smith on somebody now.
I'll go Will Smith right on you, bro.
I'll slap you.
That was unexpected.
Chris took it like a man, bro.
Yeah, dude, if that wasn't staged,
a
professional. Yeah, man.
He took that one.
I'm like, hello. The guy's there for a comedy, right? If you go to a comedy club and you sit in the front row and somebody says something,
he had his hands behind him too.
Out?
Yeah,
he had his hands behind him.
But here's what's really fun. Okay, he had his hands behind him because he never expected anything to go down. He thought he would just come out and like mess with him a little bit. But here's what's interesting: you let other men be with your wife, but you can't joke.
Oh, that's allegedly. We don't. know
No, that's not allegedly. He admitted to that in an interview on television. So
what?
I didn't want to bring this all up. I just wanted to slap Coobs. That's all.
All right.
I'm just saying.
I
didn't want to bring up all
point
of that.
taken. Point taken.
I'm just saying.
There you go.
I'm just saying.
I don't care
what
happens.
How's everybody doing?
Is it cold up there, Roof?
It's a little chilly.
Chilly enough to make you wear a job shirt.
Dude, it's like 20 degrees, blowing like 25. I don't know.
It is. That's cold,
it's ridiculous. Bro. It's enough.
Yeah. Enough.
Tired of it.
Can't we sue somebody over that? I don't know.
Sue me.
I don't sue everybody. I got hurt. My damages.
Hold on.
Maybe I could sue for punitive damages that you're giving me. Me? Sue everybody.
I don't sue everyone. I don't know.
My feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, we got hurt at work today. We got a couple of we got to do the commercials and whatnot and what have you. Pete's got to bring us in. I got a really cool quote. You want me to save it to the end, or should I get out of the way in the beginning?
Shoot it now, man.
Yeah,
shoot it, Jay. Shoot it.
Listen, I didn't come up with this. This was a cumulative quote that I took a little bit from Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan. I just was listening.
The best podcast on the earth. You mean that
guy? And I just found this to be amazing.
Allegedly,
and I think that most firemen live like this, bro. But if you can apply this to the rest of your life, right? You ready? People in today's society think you should be weak or docile or a pacifist. He says, no, be a monster. Be ruthlessly ambitious. Then learn how to control it. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Really? Doesn't mean you can't be kind. You can control it, but be ruthlessly ambitious and be a monster.
I've been trying to control it for 53 years. It's not working.
I'm gonna
peeing on your friend's hood of your car is not controlling it. You know what I mean? That's not really controlling it.
I'm gonna expand on that. Peterson, in that interview, the long format version of that, it says, that Bible quote, "The meek shall inherit the earth."
Yes,
that's not the proper translation of that quote. It's actually that that you will sheath your sword and control when it becomes unsheathed, right? So that's the whole idea, and then that's how we get to that. So this has all been bastardized over time, that the meek shall inherit the earth. No, the weak will not inherit the earth. It's those who sheathe their swords and know when to pull it out when it's time to pull it out.
We're going deep.
So if you're strong, bro, you can learn to be kind. But if you're weak, you can't be strong, bro. Ain't happening. If you're a weak ass millennial snowflake. Oh, all right. I digress. But go ahead. All right. Pete, go ahead. Yep.
Okay. Well, you guys know we got to pay these bills, and the show is brought to you tonight, as it is always brought to you by NewJerseyFireEquipment.com. Established in 1930 and under the current ownership since 1987, the New Jersey Fire Equipment Company handles a complete line of fire department equipment and supplies. Headquartered in Greenbrook, The company operates full 3M Scott service facilities in Ridgefield Park and Toms River, staffed by 10 fully authorized Scott certified technicians with a fleet of 6 fully equipped service vans. All New Jersey Fire technicians and sales representatives are active or retired firefighters, officers or chief officers, career and volunteer. They understand the business and the importance of their work. New Jersey Fire has represented Scott since Earl Scott entered the SCBA business at the end of World War II. Among other leading manufacturers represented by New Jersey Fire are Globe and Firedex Turnout Gear, Mercedes Hose, Task Force Tips and Akron Brass, Hygenol, Fire Hooks, Arctic Compressors, MSA Carnes Helmets, ChemGuard Foam, Alkalite and Duo Safety Ladders, BA Face Shield Protectors, Truckman's Choice Saws, Grove's Gear Racks and Washer Dryers, Supervac Fans, RPI, Streamlight, and many others. A New Jersey incorporated and based company, sales and service are limited to the state of New Jersey. Find us now at www.njfe.com. That's www.njfe.com.
Oh, well done. Well done.
And
Well
don't
done.
forget, guys, if you want to support us directly, we do have something called the Super Chat. That's if you absolutely, positively have a question you need to ask Mr. Raftery or one of us. Or if you just want to throw us a few shekels, you guys are our number one sponsors. The Super Chat, ladies and gentlemen, find it in the corner, the lower right-hand corner of your chat. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Mrs. Procaccini's husband said, getting salty, deep thoughts.
You know
That
it.
could be a new segment.
Let's do the deep thought segment. Yeah. All right, let's bring him in here. It's Jimmy Rock and Roll Raftery. Dispatcher 150. Hey, there he is. Doing it.
What's up, guys?
Doing it.
What's up, Jimmy?
There
How's
he
it
is.
going?
That's going, bro.
Shalom.
Oh, he knows
How
how to
about
do
you?
it already.
Oh, he's got his New York Mets glass. I saw that. I love it, bro.
With the map of City Field on it.
Oh,
Very
beautiful.
nice.
There's
very
no
nice.
martini in that
My
man's hand.
girlfriend's great. No, it's Orange County Distillery corn whiskey. It's nice and clear, has a little bit of a bite to it, goes down really smooth. So Orange County Distillery in New Hampton, New York. There's my shameless plug for the evening.
I was going to say, you were
Beautiful.
selling
Nice.
it.
I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
He ain't scared.
All right, Pete, let's get patriotic while we got Jimmy here before we kick off the show.
You know,
Do
it,
your
ladies
thing.
and gentlemen, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now you
There we
Excellent.
go.
Excellent.
Now let's get going.
Flippity steak, Susie. Keep your panties in a wad over there. We're gonna do the pledge. Take it
We
easy.
did the pledge, and now we got to do the
Oh.
word, and then we can get to what we got to
We're
get
gonna
to.
do the pledge.
like
We
a
got
cat
it,
in the
Susie.
weeds.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Pete. What's the
Sheesh.
word of the day, buddy? Give it to me.
Oh my goodness. This is going to be a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, the word of the day is rock and roll.
Oh.
Oh,
Salute.
Giddy up. Salute. Chalut.
Mancha.
Excellent. All right, give us a little of the early days of Jimmy Rock and Roll Raftery. Grew up where?
Wow. That didn't
Oh, I
take
did it
long.
already. I did it already. I'm sorry.
Easy now. Easy now.
Easy, boys. Easy, steady.
I mean,
We don't want to. We don't want to repeat the last show. Not the lampshade
I'm
that's
like,
coming out.
how did he make it through? That's the only
Dude, the
question.
guy was fabulous.
The
Love
best
that
wife
guy.
on earth. Did you see her?
Absolutely. That
Come
was
in.
awesome.
I don't know anybody who
It's
could
like-
take
like,
5
"Ma,
martinis. Like that.
martini.
Yeah, dude, that
Yeah,
was
that
going
was-
down. That thing was off the. I was going downhill fast. Phew!
We
Yeah.
stuck him in there at the
He
end.
was.
but,
He was. I'd have to say, like an hour and 15 minutes in, he was feeling no pain.
Ah,
Yeah,
that
no
was
pain.
good. That was
I'll
great,
tell you
though.
right now, he knocked it out of the park with the old school tip, man.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that was a great.
Oh, yeah,
old
that was-
school
that was a
tip,
good one.
bro. Yep.
Good stuff.
he,
All right.
he rocked it.
So I was born in Astoria, Queens, and lived in Sunnyside from 1973 to 1976. Moved to South Ozone Park in 1976, which is where I, really got into being a buff, hanging around Engine 308. And this is before the 5-1 Battalion moved in there. Back then, it was the Queensboro Command at one time. Lived there till 1985. Moved upstate after somebody got mugged out in front of my house. My father was sergeant with the NYPD, and he's like, "Yeah, it's time to go." I think I got my interest in the fire service like genetically through my grandfather. My grandfather was what my father would call a frustrated fireman. He came home from World War II and applied for the firefighter job, but I think he was too short because I think they actually had a height requirement.
How
back
short
then in
was
the
he?
1940s.
Let's clarify.
Quite. 5'7", maybe.
Whoa!
I don't know.
So he was very
This is
short.
This is the 1940s. It was a different world back then. Remember?
All right, yeah.
So, and he was a pretty big buff. He would go to fires, take pictures, and I used to see slideshows that my father had of these fires around the city. And Saturday afternoons, 5:00, everything would stop. Watching Emergency on Channel 11.
Yeah, man.
And Squad 51. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's another story for later. I was actually very fortunate. I've met a couple of members of the cast and been to where they filmed it, so on and so forth. Moved up to Lake Carmel, New York in 1985. I became a fire explorer, which is an offshoot of the Boy Scouts, in 1987. Graduated from high school in 91, became a volunteer in Lake Carmel in 91, enlisted in the United States Coast Guard in 1992, served from 92 to 96, got out in 96, and was working. Yeah, there's me and Tom Moore, who is now a lieutenant. I believe he's in 293, or he's covering in the 13th Division.
Oh, shit. No,
that was somewhere in between Cuba and Haiti, probably January of 94.
Cool.
We're wearing purple because that was like the pipes on the ship. Each pipe color meant a different thing. Purple meant jet fuel. So we would have the helicopters coming in, and we would run under the blades while they were turning and refuel the helicopters. And me with my really shitty mustache. Ooh.
That was big. Back
wasn't a good look.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good look.
That was big back then, though.
That job would be perfect for me, bro. Running under the helicopter blades. I'd never worry about getting my head cut off. Never have to worry about getting my head cut off there, bro.
It's
was that freaky?
Down like this.
Not
it
me.
was pretty freaky.
Yeah.
And doing hand signals with the helicopter pilots and showing them samples of the fuel that we were putting in the helicopter. So that was cool. Kind of fun. I loved doing it. I loved doing that. And waking up, going outside and looking out at the sea, not knowing what day it was, not knowing where the hell you were. Spent a lot of time.
We say it all the time, right, Ruffy? Me and Ruffy say it all the time. Our biggest, we should have definitely went in the military, right? My biggest regret in life, should have went in the military, no doubt.
It's something I would probably recommend, just to get an idea of service, serving others, because like I had said to you guys in the beginning, public service, public safety, it's a family business with me. My grandfather was in corrections. My other grandfather worked in the transit authority. 3 of my uncles worked in the transit authority. My old man was a cop. My brother John was a paramedic. You got me. My brother-in-law is a retired firefighter from Rybrook, which is in Westchester County, right next to Greenwich, Connecticut. My father-in-law is a retired chief's aide out of the 27 Battalion, and he was also a Brooklyn Tin House alumni, Engine 232, back in the day. So
we do have something in common. We do have something in common, bro. Like you said, it's nice waking up and not knowing where you are. Sometimes I finish the show and I have no idea where I am at this moment.
Yeah, it's
like, wow.
There's nothing but water as far as the eye can see, and it's like, okay.
There's nothing but staircase getting me up the stairs to go to bed.
Right.
But I don't know where I am.
Sometimes we gotta pour them onto a couch. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
The animal.
Just saying. But back in like October, November of '95, I was at my last unit in Sandy Hook, New Jersey, and my father calls me. And he says, hey, listen, the test for fire dispatch is coming out. Why don't you take it? Now, I had done search and rescue radio in the Coast Guard down the shore, Point Pleasant Beach and Sandy Hook. And I'm like, I don't know. I'd rather, go be a firefighter. So I hang up the phone with him. And guy sitting next to me is a reservist, and he happens to be a lieutenant in 321 Engine out in Garrison Beach, a guy by the name of Neil Wilson. And he says, you want to be a fireman? I said, yeah. He goes, take the test, get your foot in the door. So a little bit like middle of January of 96, I took the written test, and I got the call in March of 97. I got appointed April 7th of 97 with 17 other people. And we spent 6 weeks in the sub-basement of the old Staten Island dispatcher's office, which was also a bomb shelter. I mean, you go down there and they had like these watertight doors like you would see on a ship or a submarine that you had, pull these humongous levers down to lock up.
Louis loves those sub-cellars.
Loves them. The first 2 weeks we were there, we're learning how to do the job manually. And I was incredibly fortunate to get on the job when I did, because I got to learn how to do this job from guys who did it without a computer and during some of the busiest years the fire department's ever seen. I had Warren Fuchs, who taught me almost everything I know. Harry Doyle, God rest his soul. He was a well-known Brooklyn and Queens dispatcher. He was also really big into fire photography. And learning from these guys and also listening to them on the radio before I got on the job, I was able to pick up like good habits and hear the poor habits of people on the
Jimmy,
radio.
What was it like when you say before computers? What were they doing different? They did everything. They did everything on paper fire tickets and plastic chips. You would have what they called we still have it, actually. It's called the status board. And what you would do is, let's say for the sake of argument, box 6057 comes in, Liberty Avenue on 117th Street in Richmond Hill, Queens. All right. Say for a building. Okay. Yeah. So it goes out with 3 engines, 2 trucks, and the chief. And you put the chips of the units that are going to this box in slots all with each other, and then you write down the box number in grease pencil underneath. And that's how you kept track of everybody when you didn't have a computer. And how would you dispatch them out then? What would you do? Like
you had the voice alarm, which was came into service, I want to say 69, 70 maybe, which is an intercom between us and the firehouses.
Right.
And what you could do is hit switches to either do an individual firehouse, a group of firehouses, or the whole borough. And we'll just use that particular box as an example. 308, 270, 285, 126 truck. Boop, boop. Attention, engine 308, squad 270, engine 285, tower ladder 142, ladder 126, respawn, box, blah, 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 blah. And then when the battalion got in there and gave his report, say, an 18 for an outside rubbish, so 308 and 142 will operate. Everybody else you would put 10-8, and the chips had a line underneath the number that you could look at the chip and know what that unit was doing just by looking at the chip.
Wow.
So
before computers, grease pencils and chips.
Yeah.
Right.
And lots of paper Everything was, and writing stuff down in the old telegraph system. The bells and whatnot. So like a special call for an engine will be 5. So let's just say engine 79 is going to box 3542. It'd be 5 3542 79, and that's how we kept track of everybody, where they were going and what they were doing.
Now, did they have the? You remember the what was it called? The brown box roofie that we had before the computers came into the house watch? What were those little brown boxes?
That was a teleprinter.
Right.
It was the basic teleprinter. It didn't have the computer.
Right.
No, it had push buttons.
It just had the
you had the
push buttons.
10,
1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 4. Yeah.
Right.
That came in Brooklyn in 1977, and then it went citywide in 1980. And I remember, going over to 308 and hanging out, and beep 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 beep, as the runs were coming in, and then you get the tone alert, that 2-tone alert, and they still use the bells, 5 bells for the engine, 3 bells for everybody, 7 bells for the truck, so on and so forth.
117 actually had that computer hooked up. So when that computer used to go off, the teleprint, if you were in house watch, the teleprinter, would start printing, but you wouldn't hear a bell until after everything was almost done, and then you would get the beep boop, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of companies did that. Was 117 hooked it up so that as soon as it started to print, they had some fanguli thing that there was a bell on the outside.
Usually a buzzer or something like that, or like
bell.
Or like, I was cracking up the other night when Chief Dombrowski was mentioning how they did it in Detroit with like strings and cans and shit. Because that was also something that a lot of the, companies did with, drop, and the bell would go off or the buzzer would go off, whatever the case may be. But so after 6 weeks of training, we did 2 weeks of what we call manual system, and then 4 weeks of computer. So you're learning how to take calls, you're learning how to make notifications, you're learning how to properly send out units at the position called the decision dispatcher, and then talking on the radio and talking to the units, and a lot of hands-on. And then after 6 weeks, you got your orders and they turned you loose out into the field. Like I said, I was very fortunate to have gotten on when I did. Going to Brooklyn, I got to learn from Wah. I got to learn from George Munch, Gene Naylor, an amazing boss. And, these guys would explain to me what certain things were and why it was being done. I'm 23 years old and, just coming out of the service and, kind of cocky. And like I said, learning stuff about, how, like, relocations, perfect example. Like, they teach us in school, don't take an aerial ladder and put it in the quarters of a tower ladder. So one night I'm working and Gene says, take 156 truck and put him in 107. And I'm looking at him like, you sure about that? And he's like, just do it. And I said, okay, fine, no problem. So I, put it in, relocate 156 to 107. And then he comes over to me, he says, listen, this is why I'm telling you to do it. They make a left-hand turn out of quarters. They go down to Kings Highway. They bang another left, and then right up Kings Highway. They're in 107's area in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, good point. Oh, wow. So I did about 6 months in Brooklyn.
It wasn't because 156 pissed somebody off, so he sent them on the relocator. That wasn't the reason why.
We'll get to that later.
All right.
We'll get to that later.
Allegedly.
Okay. Allegedly. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Jimmy, one other question I want to ask you. What are the positions? Because there's multiple guys working on one tour, right? It's not just one guy.
Yes, you have. All right, you have in the Bronx, Queens, and I think Staten Island, it's a boss and 6 dispatchers. In Brooklyn and Manhattan, it's a boss and 7 dispatchers. So you get a phone call, just say you dial 911 and you get an NYPD operator, 911, do you need police, fire, or medical? I need the fire department. Okay, what borough are you in? I'm in the Bronx. Hold on for the fire department. And they transfer it over to us. Fire department, what borough? I'm in the Bronx. Okay, caller, what's the address of the fire or emergency? And let's say 1315 Puritan Avenue. Okay, 1315 Puritan. Now we're reading it back to the caller while we're typing it in. We hit enter on the computer and it comes up with the box number, and then it comes up with the cross streets. In this case, 4652 Tremont, Puritan and LaSalle. Okay, what's on fire there? Oh, it's a car. So we can punch in a letter code on the computer, which marks it as a transportation, car fire, truck fire, whatever the case may be. And then what we do is it's called pre-release. You hit the button, and from the ARD, the alarm receive dispatcher, it goes to the decision dispatcher. The decision.
So the guy who takes the call is what's his position? The guy who takes the call.
It's called ARD, alarm receive dispatcher. So they're getting the phone calls, the ERS boxes. They're getting administrative phone calls, like if you have a building inspection complaint or something like that.
Right.
So the decision dispatcher looks at the box as it's coming in, makes sure the right amount of units are going, the right type of units are going, and then releases it. while that's happening, the alarm receipt dispatcher is getting like the final bits of information from the caller. And by that time, tone alert goes off in the firehouse, guys are getting dressed to get ready to go out the door. Now, if you didn't have your teleprinter in service or you didn't answer it fast enough, you have the voice alarm. The voice alarm's primary responsibility is primary notifications. If the computer crashes, they're turning the companies out. Attention engine 89, towel out of 50, respond, box, blah, 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 corner of walk and don't walk. Nice little shout out to Harry Doyle there. And then after, I think it's like 90 seconds, it goes to the radio for announcement. We don't announce single unit responses like an EMS run or a stuck elevator or something like that. But if we can't get a hold of a unit, either on the voice alarm, it's, attention, engine 35, respond, Manhattan, phone alarm, box 1479, Lexington 125 for outside rubbish, engine 35, acknowledge. And then as the radio operator, you're talking to the units. And basically, if you want to break it down to like brass tacks, we're taking information from the public and acting on it, giving it to the firefighters, whether it be a building fire, a car wreck, or simple BI complaint, like somebody's left like junk in the stairway or whatever. And the guys out in the field are giving us information, and we're acting on that information that you're giving us. So you get a report of a building fire, and the chief pulls up. The battalion chiefs have 5 minutes from the time they arrive on scene to give us a preliminary report. So after 5 minutes, the guy on the radio is giving them a little push. Hey, give me a preliminary. What's going on? Right. And, we're holding one engine, one truck. Everybody else is standing fast, foot on the stove, checking out an odor, whatever the case may be.
Right. Ooh. So, all right. So let me see if I get this right. You have the supervisor, the guy who gets the phone call. He shoots somebody else. Alarm receipt.
Decision dispatcher.
Turns out the company shoots it to. Then it goes to who's the guy on the radio?
Right.
He's just radio.
Radio.
Okay.
Well, those guys are all separate.
Those are three separate guys, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. Three separate people.
Do you guys rotate around during your tour?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we do. It's just like it. Yeah. Not during the tour, but like I'll come in on a Monday and all right, Jimmy, you got the DD today. All right, no problem. So work the DD for a day tour, and then Tuesday I come in for a day tour. I may be sitting the voice alarm, or I'm sitting an ARD taking phone calls from the public, which is quite an adventure.
What's the roof position?
The roof position will probably be the radio in. So you have two positions at the radio. You have the radio out, which is the person who's actually using the radio, talking to the units.
Right.
The radio in is the dispatcher who's taking the information, listening to the information coming in over the radio and punching it into the incident history. So
every time you ask for PD, have PD respond, have sanitation respond, whatever it is.
That's the voice alarm. So what happens is, I'm sitting the radio and you get a car wreck on the Cross Bronx, and God knows when highway is going to show up because they're never available. And you put in the box number, you put in the radio code for a request for PD, which is a 1047. And the guy at the voice alarm makes that notification. Now, here's the thing. We have to call 911 just like everybody else. There's no press a button and immediately rings down to some big wig. No, not at all. We have to call 911 like everybody else.
Like a red phone you pick up. Like, all right,
that's what
no. We have to call. I'm serious. We have to call 911 like everybody else. And
what do you say?
Well, hi, this is FD. I got an auto accident with injuries on the Cross Bronx. I'm serious. Cross Bronx and Rosedale, going Jersey bound, and then you have to tell them, Southbound, because sometimes
that's ridiculous.
Well, what ends up happening is, especially with the highways, and this only came out a few years ago after the 27 or the 15 battalion was sitting on the Bronx River Parkway for 4 hours waiting for the cops to show up with a 7-car pileup. And what ends up happening is after 30 minutes, if the cops haven't shown up yet, we'll go over the radio. Hey, has PD shown up? No, they're not here yet. All right, no problem. Now we have to call the platoon commander over at 911 and get them to light a fire either under highway or the local precinct sector car, depending on, where it is.
That's what you always used to say, right? I used to call, 10 minutes would go by. I'd say, ask for PD again. You know what I mean? You're like, all right, we'll give them a call. They don't give ETAs, right? I always remember you always just, I'm like,
they don't.
You have an ETA
they
and
don't.
the cops, they're like, we don't. Well, that makes sense.
No, they don't give ETAs.
Them on fucking 911.
They don't give ETAs. And God forbid.
Yeah, tell them with the pen, see how fast they get there.
Yeah. And we'll get into that in a minute too. But, God forbid you called over the radio at like 3:30, 3:45 or 4:15. Forget it. Because it's the middle of the tour change for the cops. God knows when they're going to get there. You're better off just telling these people, pull over to the side, exchange information and go your merry way. As far as pin jobs are concerned, this is a thing I always heard from guys in the field. Well, why is it the PD's already there before we get a ticket? Or, like
that was happening a lot. That was happening.
Well, 96, like I'll give you an example. 96 engine and 54 truck are right next to the 4-3 precinct on Story Avenue. And ESU truck 3 comes out of the 4-3 precinct. So they'd see truck 3 blowing past them. And then like 5 minutes after that, they'd get the B-boot.
Yeah, that's why we used to listen. We used to listen to SOD, get the runs off SOD all the time.
Right. But it all depended on how the 911 operator codes it in the system. If they put it in as an auto accident, but they put it in as like a property damage, you're not getting a ticket because it's just a property damage auto accident. If they put it in with a specific subcode to their radio code 1053, then you're getting a ticket. If it's a 1053 with injuries.
Right? Yeah.
Well, 53X is a pin job or reported pin job. And then, 53I would be an auto accident with injuries. Usually you got those when they were on the highways. And being 288 alumni, you guys had the LIE right in front of quarters. So you guys, shooting up and down the LIE looking for stuff. But it was all in how PD coded it. They weren't holding stuff up. And that was another rumor that was going around. They were purposely holding.
We thought that they were holding it up.
No, they can't. They can't hold it up.
Well, not that they hold it up, but it comes through them first. It goes through the PD.
Yes, it does. So it does come to them first.
On it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other drawback to that is you have like the ESU Atom trucks, those little like plumber trucks.
Yep.
They would drive around. They were already driving around. So right. they've also got that head start on you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that doesn't make it didn't make any sense to us because here you have companies that wanted to go to work, and yet, I mean, there would be times where we got called for an accident, show up there, the cops were already cleaning up. They had the flares out, like I'm like, what the?
What would happen with that is the PD would update it as it was going on. And let's say for the sake of argument, well, it was we'll just say it was a property damage accident, like the LIE in Woodhaven.
Right. Now they're making it an accident.
Well, an hour and 45 minutes into it, when the radio car finally shows up and they're towing, cars are getting towed and whatever the case may be, that
doesn't make any sense.
PD will update it and the computer immediately sends it to us.
To you, right?
Right. We're looking at it. Okay. And we turn it out and you guys pull up and it's like, the cops are already here. They've been here for an hour and, 20 minutes, whatever. And it's like,
dude,
sorry,
I
guys,
always used to call you guys.
That's not on us.
I would call you guys all the time and break, like sneakily say, hey, listen, this box was out like probably 2 hours ago with 10-8. You know what I mean? Like with some bullshit like that,
But that's why we used to listen to the cops SOD frequency all the time because we'd be able to get a jump on them.
That also presents an issue. All right. Because I know this from working in Manhattan and being, hanging out at Rescue 1 and having a pretty good relationship with like Terry Hatton, Dennis Mojica, and a bunch of guys in Rescue 1. They would do the same thing. And it's like, okay, guys, you're turning out. Are you giving me a verbal or what's the deal? And the other thing was...
You could turn out 10-8 and just head towards there. You don't have to go lights and sirens. You just 10-8.
Right, but that was the thing. We were more concerned that they were going, companies would do that, listening to SOD, and buffing shit.
I would never go.
And
lights
it's like,
sirens.
No.
well,
Allegedly,
but allegedly. So, and my response to that would be, well, God forbid you wrap up. The first thing the battalion is going to ask you is, "Where's your ticket, guys? Where were you going?" Things like
going
that.
Going out to get dinner. That's why you don't go lights and sirens. You just take the
Right,
slow, leisurely ride.
Yeah, you just kind of leisurely mosey on down
over there. Slowly.
Exactly.
No lights and sirens. No, we would.
So
we would go lights and sirens.
I was, like I said, I've been incredibly fortunate to have worked with a lot of really great guys. I went to the Bronx. I learned from Dennis O'Connell. I learned from Billy Traynor.
Right.
Two very senior guys. The Bronx at the time when I came on in '97 was a seriously senior borough.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't uncommon for people who had like 15, 20 years on the job to be the junior guy on the tour.
Mm.
The boss had 30 something years.
Wow.
The senior guy had 30 something years. And here I am. I got like 5 minutes on the job, barely there for a cup of coffee or a sip of coffee, as I like to joke. And it's like, oh shit, what did I just walk into? And that was my tune-up. The old guys would grab me and go, "Okay, kid, blah, 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 blah," and it was also a lot of fun because I would sit there and like, they loved pulling pranks or just messing with you while you're doing stuff. Not really like ball breaking, but like, I'll give you an example. I'm sitting there one day and I got an all hands going like over by Westchester Square, like right just past Squad 61's quarters. And I'm talking to the 7th Division or whatever the case may be. And in the background, we're watching Full Metal Jacket. Okay. So yeah, well, now we've watched it so many times. I mean, I could, recite, "I am hard, but I am fair." Yeah. So as I'm trying to talk to the 7th Division, Joe Misrandino is leaning into me and whispering, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman lines in my ear. And I'm trying my damnedest not to lose it going over the radio. I start cracking up, because, we got to maintain that air of professionalism. So,
dude, so
I did like
did you
6
guys
months in Manhattan?
Wait, we're past that already. Hold on a minute. You're getting too far.
Sorry, bud.
Brooklyn 97, April 97,
Yep.
October 97. Bronx, October 97 to March 98. Then you go to Manhattan, 98 to January 02. Okay.
Did you meet the beef? Was the beef there?
Of course he had to meet the beef.
Yeah. Beef had about, I want to say he had about 4 or 5 years, maybe a little more than that. Anywhere between 5 and 7 years on the job the first time I met him. And I forgot his name. All right.
I don't know if I think I know his name. It's the beef with Tristrial.
No.
If you told me his name right now, I'd be like, who? What?
He didn't introduce himself as Bobby. He introduced himself as Beef. So a couple of months later, I buff a job on the Grand Concourse, St. Angelo Marici's church. Actually, my aunt and uncle got married there. And I bump into him and I'm like, "I know you, Meat?" And he goes, "No, Beef." I was like, "Oh, okay. All right, dude.
Beef. It's
Beef. Yeah, exactly.
Coops, the guy we had on the show. That guy we had on the show.
Yeah, that guy.
Fucking cool boy.
Yeah, total character. The cast of characters in the Bureau of Communications is long and distinguished. There's, just amazing. So yeah, I went to Manhattan in 1998.
March 98.
And
yeah, man.
Right. And
we're gonna get into that. Go ahead.
Herb Iser, somebody also that I learned a lot from, Gary Greenbaum, who was the supervising dispatcher in Manhattan at the time, and another guy who was just, beyond a wealth of knowledge. And he would come up, he'd walk up to you, and he'd have this cigar in his hand. "So, Jimmy, and he'd punch something in the computer and say, what, first 2 units, or, like he'd punch in like box 8950 in the Bronx, which is the Whitestone Bridge on the Bronx side. "What's the cool thing about this box, Jimmy?" "Well, probably because 89 engine and 50 truck are first due, and it's the same, units first due. That's the box number." "Very good. You knew, Jimmy." And like this guy would make fucking crossword puzzles about the job, and it was great because you got to learn so much You guys had mentioned Joseph Epstein. I worked with Joseph, another really good dispatcher, and he was hysterical.
I like Joe.
Because Joseph, I would go out to California on a pretty regular basis, and he's like, "Hey, Rafi, you going to California?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Joseph, I'm going to California. Can you go and get me a couple of shirts for the Ace?" The Ace was his son, Alan. Yeah, Joseph, no problem. I'll just tell me what his size is. I'll hook you up. So, working in Manhattan, you never know what you're going to get when you pick up the phone. Okay. Yep. Each borough has its own character to it. All right. You're going to see a bunch of guys from the 15th Division puffing their chests out right now. Brooklyn is a borough of fire. All right. No two ways about it. All right. Queens is coming up right behind them or just below them, because the Bronx is in there as well. But, you had the guys in Queens that lived out on the island have to commute twice to fire duty. And, Manhattan, you don't know what you're going to get when you pick up the phone. I mean, it could be something as simple as, a stuck elevator or a water leak or something like that, or something completely off the handle, like a cruise ship losing. Well, no, not even that, but like the weird shit that makes the 5 o'clock
plane
news.
crash in the Hudson, something like that.
Plane in the Hudson. Yeah. There was one night a cruise ship lost their steering as they were pulling out of the pier, and they had to get tugged back in. Or about maybe 2 weeks before September 11th, some dude in a parasail parachuted with a fan on his back, and he got hung up on the torch at the Statue of Liberty.
Come on.
And from what I understand,
it's never ending. Manhattan is never ending.
Allegedly, he took a beating from the park police and the NYPD before they, hauled him off the central booking.
As he should.
As he should.
Yeah, and up in the Bronx, it's like, yeah, exactly. Up in the Bronx, you learn a new language because it's sometimes very difficult to figure out what the person's saying by the addresses they're giving. They'll say I'm at 3133 East 161 Street, Park Avenue, and you're like, you don't want to say it over the phone, but you're like, no, you're not, stupid. You're at 3133 Park Avenue, and East 161st is on the corner. And it's actually gotten to a point sometimes where people are asking the callers, listen, get a piece of mail. Read the piece of mail and tell me what it says, because a lot of times they'll just go, I'm right here. Well, shit, that really narrows it down. What do you mean by here? And if you don't know the borough, you're screwed. There's areas, and I talk about this all the time. There's areas up in the North Bronx, up in the 1-5 Battalion. You have 229 Drive North and 229 Drive South. The cross street is 229 Street between Shiflin Avenue and Laconia Avenue. And these people will call up from, the Edenwald housing, like, I'm at, 1157 East 229 Street Drive North. What? And if you don't know the addresses, you got a problem. And it's like, okay, you're at 1157 229 Drive North. No, that's not what I said. Believe me, that's where you are. I actually had a guy dropped the race card on me once. I was working in Manhattan, and the guy swore up, down, left, and right he was on this address at 144th Street and 8th Avenue. And I'm like, no, that's not the right address. And, like I said, he drops the race card, and I'm like, no, listen, dude, if you were at the address that you said you were, you'd be in the middle of the Hudson River, closer to the Jersey side. All right. Are you sure you're not at this address at, on 8th Avenue? And he's like, that's what I said. And I'm like, another satisfied customer.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim. So you think that being over time, like Warren, I remember we talk about Warren all the time. He would tell you, go down 3 blocks, especially to the relocators, go down 3 blocks, make a right at the McDonald's, go down here.
Yeah,
that's just being
that's a level that's having a really, Warren and George Munch, 2 Brooklyn dispatches, they were on a level far beyond anybody else. They could be like, go down 3 blocks, you see the bodega, make a left, it's a house with a blue door on the right-hand side. I could do that getting the firehouses. I was working the blackout of 03 up in the Bronx. I had
Just gonna
164
ask you
truck
that,
coming
bro.
over the
I was
bridge.
just gonna ask you if you worked at blackout.
I worked the blackout, kick beef off the radio, actually. And what a night that was. I mean, the city burned that night. It wasn't as bad as it wasn't even close to being as bad as 77.
Sure.
But like we had about 3 or 4 jobs in the Bronx. I think Manhattan had 2 or 3 jobs. Brooklyn, borough fire, like I said, they burned from the time the lights went out till the time the sun came up. Jeez. And they must have had like 20, 25 jobs over the course of the day and a half, 2 days at the
290 had like 15 of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like arson or just
just jobs. Just
jobs.
Fires.
Wow.
Yeah. I worked, like I said, I worked in the Bronx that night, and we had a Metro North train broken down, or actually, ran out of power along Park Avenue, and they're telling us, they're evacuating 350 people to the Melrose train station. And then I think we had a second alarm up in Riverdale, up by 52 Engine, with a couple of jumpers. And that was pretty much it for the night. And then, like I said, Brooklyn, every like 45 minutes to an hour, boom, 1075, boom, 1075, 1077. Second alarm's been transmitted, blah, blah, blah. So that was a rough night. And I give mad props to the guys in Brooklyn, because they held it down. It was, and you get that a lot too. And like I was saying about callers not knowing where they are, they'll tell you, y'all, yeah, come turn this fire off. What'd you say? I had to come turn this fire. Well, I don't know about turn it off. We can put it out for you. You know what I'm talking about? He's like, all right, calm down. Where are you? So about 4 or 5 years in, I'm getting a little jaded, and I'm also, deciding I'm like, I'm gonna fuck with these guys a little bit. So one night I'm working, and guy calls up, says, yo, you got to come turn this fire off. I'm like, well, where are you? It's like, Webster and Tremont, or Webster and 180. And I'm like, all right, y'all got to stick around and show them where the switch is. And the guy's like, what'd you say? I'm like, yo, did you not just tell me we got to come turn this fire off? And he says, yeah. I said, y'all got to stick around and show them where the switch is. Nice. And I didn't know what that meant, until I actually spoke to some people who spoke Spanish. There's no Spanish to English translation for put out. They use apagar, which is turn off, and it's the closest thing they can, So
when you convert it to English, that's what it is.
That guy might be right. You might be a racist, bro. I'm thinking that guy might be right.
No, I hate everybody equally. So, like, me too. Working in Manhattan, like I said, if it's going to be on the 5 o'clock news, it's going to happen in Manhattan.
Oh my God.
And I loved working in Manhattan because of that. You work in Manhattan for like 5 years, you've written your resume. If you want to leave the city and go anywhere else, you do 5 years in Manhattan, you're good to go. And honestly, I almost left. I almost went to Los Angeles County back in I almost left in 01, and I almost left again in 07. But I had 10 years on the job, so I was at top pay. And I'm like, I'm not taking a $30,000 pay cut to go out west and, live in a box in Anaheim. Yeah, just wasn't happening.
Manhattan.
Yes.
All right. So we got to go. We got to touch on 9/11. Before we do that, I have a couple of questions that we got to clear up right here, Rookie. You know what I mean?
Oh boy.
Yes.
So we got to know what the problem was with 288, bro, because you had to know that there was an ongoing problem. Oh, here it is, bro. You ready?
You see the huff? Right. He did a little. The air came out of him.
I can do this with. I was. Full disclosure, I was a boss in Queens from 04 to 05. And we had a problem with the SOD radios because we knew you guys were out, doing your thing. Certain lieutenant who was a Rescue 1 alumni, I'm not naming any names here.
Never heard of him.
But yeah. Tough Tony. And I had quite a few run-ins with him, and he's like, well, we should be going to that. And I'm like, dude, by the time you get there, Rescue 4 is going to blow the doors off of you. Well, you'll be hearing from the Rescue Battalion. And I'm like, all right, fine. Have him call. I'll tell him exactly what's up. And it was nothing personal against him. It was just, there were certain things that, it to my opinion, it didn't warrant that, and if there was something that I felt, yeah, you know what, you got a point. All right, yeah, take it in, guys. Tickets coming up. But we had heard rumors about little SOD radios hanging off your turnouts and things like that. But like I said, being a South Ozone Park guy, I was all about 270.
There it is right there. Look, Marky Giannini's in there. Marky Giannini
was like Giannini was going like this. I've never done this before.
Actually, I was really tight with Dave Marmon,
Never heard of him.
Was also another Rescue One alumni.
He went out with his neck too.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did.
All right, now let me give you.
Dave's a sweetheart.
Dave's a good guy. But let me give you the story before you got there, because it started
when we first
before
started.
You were even there, because Cat Murphy had to go down there. We went down there to do the usual thing. We brought a cake down there. You know what I mean? To introduce ourselves to the dispatchers. And there happened to be a sign sitting in there about a softball game, and it said, "Why don't you come out and play with some of the some of the companies that we like 270, and some of the companies we hate, like 288." Unprovoked, it was there. Captain ripped it off the wall. Captain ripped it off the wall and went down there and
hold
said,
on, Jess, I just before you even say, so I was there as a fireman, got promoted in 2002. From 98 to 2002, we fought to get our boxes. We got screwed. Captain Murphy, I mean, it was countless times.
I couldn't tell you because, like I said, I was a Manhattan guy.
I got promoted. Well, I'm not saying. I'm just saying how long it went on for. Then I got promoted right after 9/11 in June of 2002. Went to Brooklyn, stayed there to 2009.
Right.
Moved upstate, not too far from you. Went back to SOC, ended up getting the spot in 288. And do you know, I was having similar issues. It was still going on. And I would tell the chief,
it's almost like a generational thing. As the newer guys were coming in, as newer guys were coming in.
This is what I'm trying to say is, why would you stop? I wasn't asking you or asking the dispatchers to do anything for me. I just wanted to go on the boxes that I was supposed to be
on.
Right. So, in the whole scheme of things, why would anybody want to take away from people on a public servant? You said it on when you came in here, who want to do more. What public servant wants to do more? Go ahead, say it. Nobody. The fire department.
Nobody.
That's it. Right. So why would you
other than us?
The sanitation guy ain't going picking up 6 blocks extra of garbage. Right. So why would you take away?
I didn't work in Queens. I didn't work in Queens that long. Like I said, I only worked in Queens for a year, and I can't answer that question for you. You would have to grab somebody who's worked in Queens for a long time. But
did you know when you got there? Did you know that, like, when you came there, did they kind of tell you that 288?
Had no idea.
So
had no idea.
So that came to you just by experience.
That information has to be transferred because we weren't.
It got back to us later. It does get around.
Right. That's what I'm asking you. Like, did they tell you? Yeah, but bring you up to speed. Like,
it was just something that I found out over time, and I mean, like if you're asking, did we play favorites? Does a bear shit in the woods? Of course we play favorites at times.
But favorites is one thing, but not sending guys on a box.
Yeah, that's something
almost
like
something
that legally.
It's almost
you talk about you don't want guys responding. You don't want guys responding.
I worked plenty of nights that the dispatchers would not put us on our own box. That's our box. We'd be like, dude, that's our box. Assign us to our box.
They would send 270.
Yeah,
right.
What the fuck?
And then
oh boy.
But when it's done, it's done. Well, that's what I'm saying.
I told you I was going to bring this up.
So let me ask you something. You don't put us on the calls on our own boxes. Is this what you're trying to explain to me? Is this how you turn on family?
Look at Jim's face.
Yeah, they're gonna.
That's what it sounds like to me, honestly. As an observer, I'm like, geez, guys, give the guy a break. Let him breathe. We're crying out loud.
They're gonna take me down Cross Bay Boulevard and hang me by my toes off the North Channel Bridge.
Todd Swansby in the chat saying, keep 270 out of your fucking mouth.
boy. I opened up a can of worms with that one. Exactly. March me right into that fucking minefield.
I opened that can of worms, bro.
All right, no more with that minefield.
Oh, come on. We had to get that out there, bro. We had to.
All right. Well, it's well, listen, he gave you an answer.
Dude, that's going deep. That was deep.
Listen,
was
I'm just going to
we've
tell
been dealing
this
with that
story.
for 20 years.
I'm just going to tell the story. I'm not going to say any names.
Okay.
But
you don't have to.
We are in the kitchen one day, and a 1075 comes in. I'm like, was that a job? I think that's our box. I'm not. It was our job. It was our box. There was no. Listen, I was there. I was driving for a long time. I was in the seat for a long time. So it was our. We get on the rig, and I'm not going to say what lieutenant it was. He says, "Put us on that box to like -288. Stay in service." He's like, "Put us on that box. It's our box."
Okay, that was the lieutenant's first mistake. Right there is telling
but I'm just going to tell you the radio got pulled off the dashboard and went flying on the.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it
on the Grand Central Parkway.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it for a second.
This is what I see. I see a radio fly out on the Grand Central Parkway. I'm like,
oh my God!
At some point tonight, we might need that again. I don't know.
Yeah, he's probably screaming, son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. But that was his first mistake right there.
It was not me who you think it was.
I'm not naming names.
Okay, go ahead.
Just like you. That was the boss's first mistake. You don't come over the radio and tell us to put you on that box. It's 288 to Queens. Are we assigned on that box? Or do you want us to assign us that box? Don't come on and tell me that
you need me on that box. You want me on that box.
This is where we're going to mix it up a little. This is where we're going to mix it up a little bit.
Meanwhile, you got to.
There it is, Jimmy. 270 doesn't have to tell you to put them on that box because you already put them on that box. Bro.
All right, let's all just chill out and rock and roll.
We're going to grab. I'm grabbing the radio like this.
Time out.
Dispatcher, put us on the box. That's our box.
Okay, and normally, yes, but you would have gotten a phone call later. Hey, asshole, don't call here over the radio and tell me or any of my coworkers to put you on that box. All right, just calm down. It's, do you want us on that box? And I'm going to give you a little bit of my own personal opinion / honesty here. Like, and this isn't a slam on 288. It really isn't. But there's boxes up in like the 5-2 and 5-3 battalion, like Bayside, Whitestone, College Point, up that way. I'm sorry. There's no way on God's green earth that you guys or 288 should be going to those boxes on a 1075. And this is not, me talking as, hanging around Squad 61 most of my career, or, knowing guys that went through Squad 61. I'm sorry. Squad 61 could smoke 288. Getting into College Point,
this is
into
where
Whitestone.
I'll tell you different, because I can get to Greenpoint and I can get to other places way faster than Squad 250.
You can't do that, Jim.
And I would agree with you. And so I would agree with you on that. 100%.
The boxes are set up as the boxes are set up. So if it's my box, it's not up to you whether to put me on that box or not. It's my box.
No, I agree.
It should come out. And you know what the thing is? Sometimes, and here's the crazy part, we drive all the way that far out to Bayside, and we get a big piece of the job, bro. And you know that. We'd get a bigger piece of that job than we would going down by 117 or 154.
Yeah, if they load the box
and you know what I'm saying. No, we have to load the box up.
Right.
If we would drive far sometimes and get a better piece of the job, because they're not that aggressive further out. It's just a fact of the matter. So we can't go by who's going to get. We can't go by who's going to get in there quicker, because there's a shit ton of boxes. I could beat 252 in hands down. There's a shit ton of boxes in Manhattan. I can go through the tunnel and beat Squad 18 too.
What do you mean we?
You're
retired.
You're
retired.
The choir here. You're preaching
retired. What do you mean we?
All right.
What are you talking about?
There are believe me, you talk about Greenpoint.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you could smoke 252.
We have Greenpoint boxes.
Now we do, but not when I was on. We weren't having. Don't ruin my fire here, Ruffy. All right, don't.
Yeah, let him have his fun.
All right, let's move on.
I was just texting you guys, so let's reel it in now. Let's reel it in. Anyway, you've had some pretty epic calls.
Jimmy, you're a good sport, Jimmy. I love you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I appreciate it.
You've had some pretty good calls. We had a few in the video. Actually, 4 people on video right now that we could play. One of them was on 9/11, which you were obviously there for. Yeah, you know, and I thought that we might be able to take some people through that one, and then bring everybody to the last job you did, you know, ultimately.
Okay.
Because we're getting to 9 o'clock and I don't want to miss these. So do you mind going through this one on 9/11?
Not at all.
Yeah, let Jimmy set it up.
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
This was probably about 2 or 3 minutes before the second building came down. Now, I was saying before, I wasn't supposed to work that day. I was actually supposed to work that night tour, but I swapped out with Connie Ruiz, who at the time was a senior female dispatcher in the borough of Manhattan. So I worked the day tour, and unfortunately I walked in a little late. So I ended up getting stuck being an ARD, taking phone calls. And I'm sitting there waiting to get, you know, breakfast. And that was when, you know, the first plane hit. The video, the French brothers that were riding with that guy from Ladder 1, who now I think he's in hazmat. They were filming along with him.
Yeah.
They went to a reported gas odor at church in Lispenard, and I took the phone call for that. And then, you know, the first plane went in, and Engine 6 gives the verbal from over by 1 pp. Manhattan transmit a second alarm. Plane just hit the Trade Center, and I'm like, bullshit! Somebody's messing with us. What the, you know? And then the voice alarm from the 10 house started going off. And back then, when they activated it, it sounded like the chime on a game show. Like if you got a letter right on Wheel of Fortune and Vanna went to turn the letters, you know, ding, ding, ding. Right. Yeah, exactly. And then the ERS box started coming in, and then the phones lit up. So this phone call that you guys are going to play is probably about, like I said, about 2 minutes before Tower 1 comes down or Tower 2 comes down, whichever one, unfortunately, this poor soul was in, a guy by the name of Kevin Cosgrove. You're going to hear the PD operator. You're going to hear me come on. And I'm on the phone with the guy for maybe 20 seconds because that day, you know, we'd gone into just falling back on our training when it comes to a high-rise job. You know, if you're below the fire floor, obviously get the hell out of the building, you know, use the stairs. But if you're above the fire floor, sit tight until, you know, somebody comes and gets you. And a lot of people, after the tapes were released 5 years later, didn't understand that. I got raked, and I mean raked over the fucking coals by people in the media who were like, what is this idiot doing telling this person to stay? And they knew there was a stairway open. And I'm like, no, I didn't know there was a stairway open. And number 2, I'm falling back on my training. So kindly kiss my ass.
Right.
You know,
right.
So that's where, you know, that's where we're at with this.
Hold on a minute, Pete. Hold on.
I'm just setting it up.
The busiest, as far as incoming phone calls at any.
Oh yeah.
You've ever had?
Yeah. I think I took somewhere in the neighborhood of like 400 or 500 calls in the space of an hour and a half between the first plane hitting and the second tower coming down. But I wasn't, like, after about 5 or 10 minutes, I wasn't putting anything in the computer. If there was stuff that I needed to relay to the radio guys, because the computer got overloaded. I was talking about the chipboard before. We actually set up the chipboard in Manhattan to keep track of the units in the event that the computer crashed with all the shit that was going on.
Right.
So
who was on the radio that day?
All right. Originally, it was Tyrone Connell when the first plane hit. And then it was, I think John Lightsey went over from the other side of the room because John, I think, was sitting in the DD and Cheryl Phillips was sitting in the voice alarm. And then it was me, Monsita Corney, and John Beck were 3 of the 4 people taking phone calls. And Monsita was just coming off the night tour. She was off duty and she just got up and heard everything that was going on. and she grabbed a seat and started taking phone calls. I mean, there were some phone calls that I took that were, were messed up, but I mean, she had one where the guy was like, call my wife and tell her, this, that, the other. I mean, probably the worst phone call I got, because I didn't like talking about it for a very long time. And what happened was, like, if I got pushed, we had a script that we have to follow. And, fire department, you dispatch a number. What's the address of the fire? I barely got the words fire department out of my mouth. The lady says, never mind. I'm like, well, what do you mean, never mind? She's like, he just jumped. I'm like, oh, okay. Click. Next phone call.
Wow.
So
it's crazy.
Jeez.
All right, Petey, show this one.
This is at the point almost right about where you're coming in. They're saying that PD is calling the FDNY at this point.
Oh, please, hurry. Fire department 408. This is 1597. Call PD. 1597. Let me talk to the caller. Where is he? He's on the line. Let me talk to him. Where's the fire, sir? There's smoke right there. 105, 2 power. All right, sit tight. We'll get to you as soon as we can. There's some staying up. The smoke's really bad, man. It's barely leave. That's all we can do. Where are you? What floor are you guys up to? We're getting there. Doesn't feel like it, man. I got young kids. I understand that, sir. We're on the way. He's on the 105th floor, the northwest corner. We own that property. Little operator? Yeah. Come on, man. Okay, we have everything, sir. I know you do, but it doesn't seem like it. You got lots of people up here. I understand. I know you got a lot in the building, but we're up on the top. Smoke rises, it's really big. We're on the floor, we're in a window. And then I had to barely breathe now. Can't see. Okay. Just try to hang in there. I'm going to say this. You're in an air-conditioned building. What the hell happened? Okay, I'm still here. He's been trying to fire department, trying to get to you. Doesn't feel like it. Okay, try to calm down so you can conserve your oxygen, okay? Try to. Thank God to blow you in from the left. It's really bad. It's black. It's arid. Does anybody else want to chime in here? We're young men. We're not ready to die. I understand. How the hell are you going to get my ass down? I need oxygen. They're getting to you. They have a lot of apparatus on the scene. It doesn't feel like it, lady. You get them in from all over. They get in from Jersey. I don't give a shit, Ohio. Okay, so what's your last name? Mine's Cosgrove. I must have called about a dozen times already. Cosgrove. Yeah, my wife thinks I'm all right. I called her and said I was leaving the building. I was fine, and bang. Well, I want to go down here. Cherry. Dead Cherry, is that right? Yeah. Dead Cherry's next to me. 105. Whose office? John Astro's office. That's where you go. That's the office. We're in John Astro's office. OST. ARU. ARU. Right. That's the office we're in. There's 3 of us in here. OST. ARU. OST. ARU. Hello? Hello. We're looking at the financial center. 2, 3 of us, 2 broken windows. Oh, God!
That is
about 2 years after somebody sent that to me, and I was like, yeah, thanks, Dick. I got to relive this. And it breaks my heart to this day that, help didn't get to these people. And I would love to sit down with his family and say, look, I'm sorry. We did the best we could, you know. But it was.
I mean, you couldn't stay on the line. I mean, that woman stayed on the
No,
line with
no.
But how are you supposed to do that when you
because every phone in the office is lighting up. So you got to, keep it moving for lack of a better term. And like I said, I couldn't have been on the phone with the guy for more than like 20 seconds. I know where you are. Just sit tight. And we're coming. Somebody's coming. And 5 years later, when they actually released the tapes, originally, I got to admit, I didn't want to see those tapes get released because the public didn't need to hear the stuff that me and my coworkers had to listen to that day. And, some guy screaming on the radio, "Get the army in here," as the second building comes down. Or like I said, he just jumped. And, talking on the radio when the first firefighter got killed by a jumper, Danny Surf from 216 Engine.
Yep.
And they're calling for Father Mike, and Father Mike's nowhere to be found. And I was furious when they actually released the tapes. I'm like, all right, well, if you're releasing them, why are you, editing everything and redacting stuff? Oh, well, we can't identify the caller. We're not. I'm like, dude, you guys should have put these out uncensored. People want to listen to this. All right, well, fine. Here you go. Get it uncensored and raw. And I remember it was the day of my ex-wife's bridal shower. I walk into a Sunoco station on Cross Bay Boulevard. I was living in Howard Beach at the time. And there's words I said to some poor fella on the front page of the Daily News. I'm like, sir, I swear to you, we'll get somebody up to you. And like my heart sank. And but yeah, I was messed up for a really long time after that day. Nightmares, a lot of drinking. And I lashed out at a lot of things and a lot of people, and oftentimes unfairly. Like I said, I got promoted to supervisor in 2004, and I did a year in Queens. I did 3.5 years in the Bronx, and I did another 3.5 years in Manhattan. And you know how they tell you don't bring work home with you? Well, the same thing applies the reverse. Don't bring home to work with you.
Right.
I was going through a divorce. I was going through a whole bunch of other stuff at home, and I lashed out at a lot of things and a lot of people, and sometimes unfairly. And I own it. And that's another thing. Your mental health is so important. Get the help if you're that fucked up, get the help you need before it's too late. And unfortunately, I didn't. And it cost me. It cost me a lot.
Yeah.
And, I finally did get the help I needed. And I'm eternally grateful that I did get that help.
You know what, Jimmy? You know what? So many guys have said this before. Don't bring work home with you. But this is the first time, and I can't believe it, that was right in front of me all the while, bro. So many guys bring stuff at home to work. The reverse.
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, like I've heard the opposite so many times until you just said this right now. I'm like, God damn, there are so many guys who have problems at home who bring it to work. Like it's never even thought of, And it's the first time hearing it from you, like, holy shit, that is so.
Yeah,
true.
I was
in
2008. I was in the middle of a divorce. I just lost my mother, and I'm fighting, with my family over my mother's estate. So, and then fast forward a couple of years, my girlfriend was going through a complicated pregnancy with our daughter. So I'm on edge, and I'm ready to fucking snap. And there were a couple of times I did. And that's, and I was too stubborn to realize how messed up I really was. And it took a long time before I got the help that I needed.
I also think that, and I'm realizing now by listening to this, that a lot of course, you think of first responders, you're thinking about Coobs and Lou run into the building or whatever, you know what I mean? Like from my perspective, any firefighter, any PD, but really in a lot of ways, you're the first point of contact there. and you're hearing their voices. And,
that's
a little bit different. That's a little different.
We are, yes. Well, that's the thing.
Good point.
This is a debate I've gotten into with a couple of my firefighter friends. Like, well, you're not really a first responder. I said, look, just because I'm not on the fire floor with you guys, and just because I'm not pulling 1045s out of the building, doesn't mean that I don't feel it. You know, there's been plenty of calls that I've gotten where it still to this day, almost 20 years later, it resonates with me. You know, and
Jimmy, honestly, you know what? You guys are the first responder. I mean, you're the first person to respond to a call for help, honestly, right? I mean, the definition of the word first responder comes into you guys. You guys are giving the first response. Yeah. So I would totally disagree with any firefighter.
But even like what Petey was just saying, like we got there, we saw bodies, right? Or whatever. You heard the people, right? That to me, those are unfortunately, it's just numbers, right? If I don't know the people, it's just a number. But for you to hear the guy like
it's
that guy,
it's a human contact that you
hear the boy saying, "Tell my wife I love her," or whatever else he's saying.
And I'm not even talking about September 11th. I mean, there's been calls.
Oh no, I'm sure.
There's recordings buried of where the dispatcher's on the phone with the caller, and that caller's taking their last breath. And they're 1045 code 1 before you guys even get in the door. And I can also take a little bit of pride because there was one about a year and a half later where I stayed on the phone with the kid. He was like a 11-year-old kid trapped in his apartment. And I didn't get off the phone until I heard 42 truck taking down the door. And I'm like, okay, this kid's good. Hang it up.
That's gotta be a good feeling, man.
It's great. It's a great feeling. Knowing that, you're directing the guys to where they got to go, and back bedroom.
Well, that's why I want to ask you too. Not to switch. I mean, I kind of want to get off September 11 too, but so when you hear, I mean, I can't say how many times, right? I'm in 103. We're going to the box, and you'll get on the radio and say, Brooklyn 103, we're getting reports of people trapped, second floor, back, whatever. So that whole time you're staying, like you're hearing people cough, you're hearing people, like, what are you guys hearing? Like if it's not somebody else reporting it, I mean, if you're getting a call from these people.
From the apartment, you tell them, open up a window, get some fresh air in there, take a towel or a pillow or, blanket, whatever, stuff it underneath your front door to keep that smoke out. Where in the building are you? So I can direct the firefighters to get to you. And then after I put it in the computer, or even before I put it in the computer, if I'm the one taking the call, yell over to the radio, hey, second floor, 2 Eddie, you got, 3-4 kids trapped. And just to kind of give you a little bit of humor on it, the problem the person has is inversely proportional to the number of kids they have. Now, let me explain. You get a phone call, water leak, stuck elevator, something like that. I'm stuck in the elevator. I got 5 kids in here with me. And it's like, yeah, okay, they're not going to get there any faster because you got, five fucking kids in the elevator. But if it's a fire, it's like, I got smoke in my apartment and I got kids. And then it's like, okay, not a problem, but the level of adrenaline definitely goes up when you hear you got people trapped. And, stuff like that. And, you're yelling over to the person on the radio, hey, listen, that's going to be a job, load it up. And with most neighborhoods in New York City, you can tell if it's going to be a job the minute you pick up the phone. I mean, there's those buzzwords that you listen for, I see flames out the windows. I just heard glass break, they're bailing out on the fire escapes. Okay. I'm seeing smoke coming from underneath the gates if it's a row of taxpayers going. And, you hear things like that. And it's like, all right, load that up. That's going to be something. And, give me that 4th engine. Give me the rescue company. Give me the squad. And, and then it's just kind of a waiting game. I mean, like I said, there are some neighborhoods like South Ozone Park where I grew up, South Jamaica, all right, down in the 13th Division. If I get a phone call from there like 2:00 in the morning, my ears are immediately going to perk up because it's probably going to be something. Same with the Rockaways. Chinatown after sundown. You get one phone call from Chinatown at like 9 o'clock at night. Forget it. You're gonna be there all night.
The fifth alarm.
You know, it's like big fire. You come now.
I never
know,
thought.
It's
Whoa on the Asians. Take it easy.
wait. No,
wife,
we got so much of smoke coming. I got to smoke.
Let me explain. Well, they don't. That's the thing. That neighbor in Chinatown and even in Flushing, they don't call till it's blown out the windows.
They try to put it. It's like it's shameful if the house goes on fire or something like that, right? It's like
it's like or something, you know, like they have to like pay the fire department for showing up. Yeah, it's a cultural thing. And there was one time I'm working in Manhattan, and I get a phone call, and it was 22 Mott Street, a place called Peking Duck. And I had heard the name of the place in a comedy tape like 20-something years prior. And the guy's like, big fire, 22 Mott Street. I'm like, Peking Duck? He goes, yes, you come now. ended up going to a second. You know, there's some funny like phone calls, like and this is amazing.
We used to have all the tickets.
Yeah,
for the ones that like stuff on it.
Yeah, right. Completely, you know, off the wall shit.
Right.
Like there was one day I took a phone call, and the lady calls up. And she's like, "Hello, I'm at 192 Bleecker Street. I'm legally blind. It's my uncle's mother." And I'm like, "Betty, is that you?" And she's like, "Yes. Who's this?" And I'm like, "It's Jimmy, Jack and Kathy's son." Oh my goodness, Jimmy, this is what's going on, you know, and.
That's funny.
Maybe I could
5 truck goes
the damages that you're giving me.
Yes, the damages you're giving me. I was very, very hurt today. And then you get the people on the Upper East Side, the Upper West Side, and down in the Village who want it like their way, right away. I don't want any fire trucks. Don't send the whole truck. No sirens, no horns. I'll have your job. What? And in the back of your mind, you're going, lady, you don't want my job. You know, and if they get really pissy about it, and I've done this plenty, especially when I worked in Manhattan, I would call the first 2 engine and truck, go, hey, listen, you guys are going into this box over on Charlton Street. Yeah, tell the boss to lean on it. Let the whole fucking neighborhood in New York come in. And they're like, you got it, dispatcher. We'll see you later. You know, because in other. I swear to Christ, I did it.
They did that at my apartment once. It was amazing.
There's other neighborhoods. You know, you go to like a lower income neighborhood, the hood. They don't give a damn how many firefighters show up, as long as somebody shows up.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and that's So.
All right.
Oh, by the way, guys, rock and roll.
Hey,
I'm out. I'm finished.
So we have another one here. We have before we get to the big one. We have a 1077, right? First couple minutes, Let's listen to this one here. Tell us what was going on, right?
Okay. In the Bronx, a telephone alarm. The box is 2799. The address 1535 University Avenue, off of West 174th Street. Reported to be a fire either on the 4th floor or the 6th floor. That's phone alarm 2799 box. The address 1535 University Avenue. That's off of West 174th Street. Reported to be a fire either on the 4th floor or the number 6th floor. Bronx Engine Company 43K.
Engine 43.
At 43, it's either on the 4th floor or the 6th floor. Reported to be out the windows. Looks like you got work there.
Nice.
43, 10-4.
That's exciting.
59 truck.
10-4.
All right, 10-4. Bronx to the 1-7 Battalion, K.
Battalion 1-7.
All right, 1-7, we're loading you up. Your 4th engine is going to be engine 9-2. You'll have squad 4-1, rescue 3. Ladder 4-4 is going to be your fast truck. 1-9 will be your all-hands chief. We're getting 4th floor, 6th floor, 5 Adam, and 6 Adam, and it's reported to be out the windows, okay?
7-10-4.
Dispatcher 150, the time now is 1147. 7 Battalion, okay?
What's that?
All right, we're also getting 7 Adam.
7 Adam, 10-4.
You're as cool as a cucumber here, dude.
Just another day in the office. You know, you get to a certain point in your career, and it's just like nothing phases you anymore. It's like, whatever, another 1077, Yahoo.
By 150, Class 1 project type building.
Right, now I'm reading out the critical information dispatches from SID. Some places called pre-incident guidelines.
The loss of pressure, closed PIV valve the building affected.
Look at that. Sid.
Units responding to box 2799, the address 1535 University Avenue. Sid information
I
is as
slipped
follows.
there. I almost said 1077 before they transmitted.
150, Class 1 project type building. Occupant in 7 David. Oxygen in use 24 hours. Standpipe system interconnected. For loss of pressure, closed PIV valve. The building affected.
That's a lot of freaking info right there.
Is that it? Is there
I mean,
more
there's
of that,
there's more. You want to
I
keep
gotta
going?
hear the 1077. You can't cut it off then, bro.
Oh, oh.
Cut it off before they get this.
4-4, 10-4. All right, 44, you're the fast truck. We're getting 4th floor, 5th floor, and 6th floor, okay?
44, 10-4, fast truck.
All right, 10-4. Bronx to the 7th Division, okay?
Division 7.
All right, Division 7, ladder 4-4 is going to be your fast truck. We got reports of fire, 4th, 5th, and 6th floor, and out the windows. Now getting 7th floor and the 8th floor for smoke.
Woo.
Division 7, 10-4.
Dispatcher 150, the time now is 1149.
Oh, the phone.
Battalion 17K.
6, Adam.
All right, 17.
Battalion 17 to Bronx, go.
And 17, you transmitted 1075?
Yeah, 1077 to box. Here's the whole hand. Fire's doubtful. Apartment 6, Adam is the fire apartment. A stairway is going to be the attack stairway, okay?
That's 10-4.
All right, Pete. Now you can cut it. You can't. It's like having sex without shooting your load, Pete. Come on, you can't cut that off, bro. Are you kidding me?
Jim,
Well, listen,
Jimmy,
I
was that your last?
No, not yet.
No, that was about 4 or 5
Save
years
that for
ago.
last, bro.
Yeah.
That
Now
was
we
about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. No, it was
And,
smooth as butter. Very nice.
They had changed. They had changed the response policy with loading up a box where you would get that 4th engine, you would get the fast truck, you would get the 1075 chief, and somewhere along the way they changed it back because apparently some of these companies that were going out as a fast truck were fucking smoking the second dude truck getting in there and going to work. And the second truck standing there going,
103.
So that kind of stopped. But and you see, and like in my career, you see that evolution. When I first came on the job, the fast truck didn't go until the all hands,
right? And
then after the Blackmore and LaPedra fire in '98,
on the 1075.
Right, went on the 1075, and then somewhere I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago is when they started to do the fast truck on the 1075. Before the 1075, we loaded up the box, and then, like I said, a couple of guys got smoked, and a couple of complaints got made, and it was like, all right, put the kibosh on that shit. So, that was the reason why I'm not going nuts is because I learned talk to the guys in the field like you're having a conversation with everybody else, and it's controlling the radio. If you're nice and calm and even, it also gives the guys out in the street a little bit of confidence that the person on the other end of the radio actually knows what they're doing and knows what the fuck they're talking about. So you want to talk to them like that, because also you don't want to get them all amped up. When you guys play the tape of the job on my last day, my biggest concern there was keeping that aide from the 7th Division from losing his mind. You had an acting deputy chief. It was Jeff Fasinelli from the 1-8 Battalion, who was acting in the 7th. I don't know who the acting battalion chief was in the 1-9, but there were a couple of times during the course of that fire that I'm like, Jesus Christ, Jeff, get on the radio, because I could talk to Jeff all day and not have a problem with it. And, like I said, it's no disrespect to the guy from the 7th Division, but that guy was losing his friggin' mind. And I'm like, dude, calm the fuck down. We got this. I know shit's going sideways. I know you got 1045s. I know bad stuff is going on, but stop screaming. We're going to get you through this. It's all right. Deputy
in the 14th, Mark Ferran, dude, would get to a job all the time, and his famous line was, he would say it to the companies that he thought guys were getting, guys, let's act like we've done this before. Right?
I mean,
absolutely.
That job was a little bit.
That was, but just in case you wanted to buy a T-shirt that says "Act like you've done this before," we have a T-shirt for sale on GettinSaltyApparel.com. Act like you've done this before.
It is. It's constant repetition.
Yep.
You know, just over and over and over again. And like I said, you know, there's certain neighborhoods, you know, it's going to be a job, and you're just like, all right, let's just wait for it, because you know. And then the first due engine pulls up, and it's like, you know, engine 275 to Queens, and it's like, here we go, 275, 1075, private dwelling, 2.5 frame, peaked roof, fires on the second floor. All right, 10-4, boop boop. 1075, whatever the box is, you know, and it's just like,
I just want for the record to say 275 is much calmer than that.
Well, I'm just throwing numbers out, all right, you know.
Yeah, when Jack Kleehouse was there.
You know, okay, I could do it with, like, you know, like some of my favorite companies, which is like the entire 18th Battalion, you know, Timmy. So
no, I'm just fucking with
you know, they'll pull up, and it's like, you know, 88 to the Bronx, and if Timmy was working, yeah, Lou, yeah, Jimmy, give me a 1075. I got, you know, second floor, occupied MD. You know, give me additional engine and truck. All right, 10-4. Punch it all in, transmit the all hands, and then that's when the fun begins on the other side of the room, making those notifications, starting relocations, you know, and
Jimmy,
listening to what
is it as much, like, you know, because firemen love to go to work, right? Love going to jobs. Is it the same on the other side of the board? Like, is it got to be excitement for you guys?
Oh yeah, it depends. Right? It yeah, absolutely. It depends. It also depends on who's working. And I was really fortunate that I did. I got to work with a bunch of, you know, buffs, guys that were, you know, volunteers either up in Westchester County, out on the island, you know, and like you would get phone calls and, you know, dude, that's a job, you know, and it was just almost automatic. You knew it was going to be a job, and you get a little bit excited because, you know, you're waiting to see what happens. And I used to get into debates about this with one of my friends, because, like, how can you enjoy, you know, it's the worst day of this person's life. How can you enjoy that shit? And I'm like, all right, wait, time out. I'm not enjoying somebody's misfortune. I am enjoying the fact that I'm getting to sharpen my skills here. Okay. You know, if I'm sitting the voice alarm, making the correct notifications, putting in the computer the size up of the building, you know, putting in whatever needs to be put in the computer. You know, if I'm sitting in DD, making relocations, you know, backfilling companies, anticipating what's going to happen next based on the reports I'm getting from the incident commander. So that was, you know, it's not like I'm, you know, sitting here going, ooh, yay. You know, I got a row of taxpayers going, and I just lost we just lost a whole fucking block of taxpayers up on, you know, Boston Road.
That's going to happen regardless, bro. That we didn't start the fire. That's happening. It's the whole process of putting the fire out. What's involved with that? You're not wishing that somebody's house goes on fire. Of course not.
Right.
Wait a minute.
But when it does, you know, it's great to to be working.
Let's not go that far. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, no, when it does,
I was hoping every time I went to work that somebody's house would burn down. I mean,
well, once again, it's you're sharpening.
It's gonna happen. You just hope that if it happens, you're working. How about that, Ruffy?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Better. Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna ask you one more question. I don't want to get too far in the weeds with this, but so if you heard a job coming in, because it's happened before, you give a little tip off to Rescue 4, because some of the buffs would, little tip off, like, hey, sounds like work.
I wouldn't know, because like I said, I only worked in Queens for like a year.
What about 41 or Rescue 3? Sounds like work. You might want to start out.
Does a bear shit in the woods?
All right. Is Howdy Doody have wooden balls? Of course.
Exactly. You know, there were times, absolutely. I'll admit it, because, you know, I'm retired and probably the statute of limitations is expired, but I used to do it with 5930 all the time. You know, I had no problem with going over the unrecorded phone and going, hey guys, this is going to be something, you know, boots up.
Pull your boats up. It looks like work. Oh, we have a shirt that says
exactly,
just in case you wanted
to. Saddle up.
But I actually got into a screaming match with the captain of a particular Harlem truck company one night, and the guy was right. He was absolutely right. It was a fuck up on our part, and I don't know why it happened, and that kind of soured me from doing that tip-off shit. I would only do it now, and on the radio if we were getting calls and it was going to be something, you knew it was going to be something, you tip off the first two engine and truck, hey, listen guys, you got work there. But that was about it. I can't speak for other people, so I can only speak for myself.
I had to throw.
Listen, we know.
So before it gets too deep in the weeds here, because we are starting to get late, I'd love to share your last day on the job.
Let me just make sure I have no more questions, because I want to get them all answered from Jimmy.
Okay.
You can call me later.
As long as they're not hostile.
Lou's got my phone number. You call me later. I'll answer anything you want.
As long as
if you want, I'll come back.
Not a hostile interrogation. Coops.
Knock it off.
All right.
Go ahead.
All
That's
right.
not
All right.
hostile.
Here we go. Hold on.
Give it.
All right. So this is your last day of work. The Bronx 5 alarm fire. Here we go. And we'll do the first. I guess we said first 5 minutes of the call, but you could set this up for us along the way. And if you'd like me to pause, just let me know. To pause.
You're actually not going to hear me right at the beginning.
Okay.
You're going to hear the current dispatcher 330, Mike Roz, our Belarusian rapper and published author.
Oh shit!
Telling 56, calling 56 truck to make sure they're going, and 56 actually was going to be delayed for whatever reasons. And then you're going to hear me come on, announce the box, and it just sounds smoke, and behind me, you got RJ Saray, dispatcher 351, Liz Labradee, dispatcher 390 something. They're the ones taking phone calls. And if calls come in and they're not answered by the Bronx, it overflows into another borough. Now, in the office, in the Public Safety Answering Center that we have, you have 3 boroughs. You have Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan. So right there, you've got 7 people taking phone calls. And the phone lines are, they're lit, especially for a building of this size. And they're some of the call takers, the ARDs, are walking over to me and saying, hey, Jimmy, apartment here, 15 boy, smoke, 13 atoms, smoke, person unconscious in the hallway. And then, like I said, 48 engine pulls up, drops to 1077. And for lack of a better term, here's where the fun begins.
All right.
Out of 56. 56, respond box 3162. 333 East 1A1 Street. 333 East 1A1 of a T-bout for a fire in the building. 56. Out of 5610-4. We're going to be delayed. We're coming from the other side of our response area.
All right, 10-4, 56. We got you. In the Bronx, a telephone alarm. The box is 3162. The address 333 East 181 Street. That's over T-Bout Avenue. Reported to be a fire, apartment 3 Eddie.
Petey, hold that 1 second. Just hold that.
Yep, 10-4.
So just making me think, just because I hear the phones ringing in the background. Whenever we were going to a box for a report of a fire, and I would hear the phones ringing in the background, it would always make me feel. Yeah, it would always make me feel like.
You got we're gonna
have something here. I didn't know if that call was for that box, but it always
it probably was.
Yeah.
Right. It probably was.
Yep.
Nice.
To the address 333 East 181 Street off of T-Bout. Reported to be a fire, apartment 3 Eddie. Bronx Tower ladder 33 K.
Ladder company 33 to the Bronx. We got your ticket. We're responding, K.
Okay, 33. You might get in first. 56 is going to be delayed.
10-4 Bronx 3 Eddie. Thank you.
10-4. Units going into box 3162. There is SIDS information available upon request. Bronx to the 19 Battalion, K.
Battalion 19.
Get a second source now reporting a fire 3 Eddie, K.
Battalion 19, 3 Eddie, 10-4.
Also 19, we started out EMS. We got a report of an unconscious person at that location. Didn't get an apartment, though.
Battalion 19, 10-4.
All right, Pete, can you pause this for a second?
Yeah, you got it, boss.
Okay. As soon as we notified the 19 that we had that unconscious and EMS was getting started out, that was when we were just about to load the box up. Rich York, dispatcher 332, was running the DD. And as he's getting ready to load the box up, is when 48 engine pulls up and drops a 1077. And away we go. Okay, go ahead, Pete.
Okay.
Dispatcher 150, the time now is 1057.
Ladder Company
33K. They didn't give us an apartment on it, 33. All we got was a reported person unconscious. We've notified EMS, and medical branch resources are responding.
Phones are ringing.
10-4 Bronx, thank you.
10-4 Bronx to the 19K.
Ladder 482 Bronx, urgent.
Who's got the urge?
Engine 48. Transmit to 1077. We got smoke from the rear of the building.
All right, 10-4.
Battalion 5-4 to Queens.
Yeah, 5-4. You trying to call Queens, guys?
Yes, we got 2 and 2 for 1040 code to, is there any ETA on that front end?
5-4 negative. Next available for Con Electric.
10-4. We checked out all the property that had called in. They all check out. Are you going to send out a process, K?
All right, 10-4, 5-4. Queens on the side, class 3, box 302. At JFK Airport, Terminal 5, automatic alarm at the Fresco Kitchen. Queens on the side, class 3, box 302. At JFK Airport, Terminal 5, automatic alarm at the Fresco Kitchen.
Food's pretty good there.
Engine 302.
302
I was just
10-12,
wondering.
5-1, good.
Engine 302 10-4.
1100 hours of time, dispatch 6, 9, 1, 2, 1, 5, and 1, 8. Bronx to Ladder Company 3-8,
Okay, those were the duplex apartments in the building.
Roger that.
Those were the floors where the duplex apartment was.
Gotcha.
This particular apartment was a down duplex from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor.
Gotcha.
So
You're the fast truck 5 on the 3rd floor of a 19-story MD. 38.
38-10-4 responding.
10-4. Bronx to the 19 Battalion.
Battalion 19.
38 code 1 by the orders engine 158, box 1145.
What is that, citywide that's on, Jimmy?
Yeah, it must
what
be.
happened was, well, Broadcastify, for some unknown reason, about a week or two before this went down, they shut down the individual frequencies on the online app.
Oh, shit.
So it was just running. It was just running the citywide scanner, and I don't believe that they have online a just straight
full
Bronx audio. Yeah, Bronx audio. So you're gonna hear.
Yeah, I heard Queens before. I was like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah. You're gonna hear probably Billy Wade working Manhattan. I forget who was working Queens, but there's also a lot of communications between the boroughs in a situation like this, because you have units coming in from the other boroughs responding on either the 1077 or the multiples.
Relocates or whatever. Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, and you know, like there was plenty of times where like we were yelling back and forth at each other. Hey, is engine 39 going with the high-rise unit? Hey, can you tell the 1-2 battalion to switch over? We got to run for them.
Oh, that's right. You guys are all together now, right?
Yeah. Which yeah.
Good
yeah.
idea.
The thing is, well, we had 5 offices, and they were in each of the boroughs, and each of them had their own personalities to them. You step out onto 180th Street and pray to God you don't get shot. You walk out on Empire Boulevard, and like there was one morning I was working in Brooklyn, and somebody got stabbed out at the Dunkin' Donuts across the street. Working in Manhattan was great, especially during the parades. you know, you spend 8 out of 12 hours standing outside watching the girls go by. You know, then, you know, St. Patty's Day, Thanksgiving, and my personal favorite, the Puerto Rican Day Parade. You know, you're standing outside. Hey, ¿qué pasó, mami? Viva Boricua! You know. So
good times.
Yeah. So the consolidation stuff actually got, like, from what I had been told or what I had understood, was that consolidation stuff the seeds for that got planted during the Giuliani administration, and then it got kicked into high gear during the Bloomberg administration, because Bloomberg hated us. And what a prick that guy was. He comes in on Thanksgiving one day and he's like, you know, well, you know, you're like the Maytag guy. You never wanted to be called. And, you know, and then he turns around and goes, well, you know, we can't have a firehouse on every other block. And I'm like, you fucking prick, get out of here.
Jeez.
So, you know, de Blasio, I don't know. I mean, he gave us a couple of raises, which are pretty good. And like I said, I got out just as Adams was beginning his term. But Giuliani friggin' hated us.
Yeah.
Yeah, my union fought him to keep the boxes from getting removed.
Oh, I remember that.
And yeah, and being who Giuliani was, you know, friggin' Napoleon complex. He was a real, like I say, he was a real prick. But
the only thing I don't like about Giuliani is he cleaned up the place.
Yeah,
he made it nice.
Yeah, you know, you weren't
no more squeegee guys.
No more squeegee guys.
No, you weren't going to report at fires and say, "Hey guys, watch yourselves going in there. You're going to get airmail possibly coming from this building."
Yeah.
You know, for those of you who don't know what airmail is when the locals throw things off the building at the cops and the firefighters. So.
Nice.
You know, new definition for the day.
Classy.
All right, Pete, get back into the. Let's finish up on the tape that we can do the.
Do a couple more minutes.
42 just said, just give guys a heads up. You got heavy fire blow out the rear of the apartment.
All right, 10-4. Bronx to the 1-9.
Battalion 1-9.
As per 42, you got some heavy fire condition blowing out the back of the building on the 3rd floor.
Battalion 1-9, 10-4.
Bronx to rack unit number 3.
Back 3 is responding.
10-4, thank you. Bronx to the 1-7 battalion, K.
Battalion 1-7.
1-7, you are the safety officer.
1-7, 10-4.
Bronx to 17 truck.
17 truck, then support.
10-4. Bronx to the 7th Division, K.
Division 7, K.
All right, you got all your rundowns there, Chief?
Division 7, 10-4, K. What's 84?
All right, 10-4. Bronx to the 1-9 battalion.
Battalion 1-9.
Be advised, you got a calling party in apartment 3 boy with a newborn sheltering in place. Okay.
Battalion 1-9, go with that apartment again for the newborn.
Okay. 3 boy sheltering in place.
Battalion 1-9, 10-4.
Dispatcher 150, the time now is 1101.
Hey, you put our runs over the air, we'll do it from the rig at MUD. All right, 10-4. I'm now 1102 hours, dispatcher 436.
Manhattan, attention, the following companies: engine 58, ladder 14, ladder 26, respond, phone alarm box 1446, 212 East 122, 3rd, 2nd Avenue, fire apartment 5 Adam. Engine 58.
58, 10-4.
58, the house responding.
Yeah, 10-4.
10-4, phone alarm box 1446, 212 East 122 Street. 3rd, 2nd Avenue, fire and apartment 5 Adam. Units going into box 1446. Its information is available upon request. Manhattan engine 67. Manhattan engine 67.
Company 67.
67, remain in Manhattan, respond. Phone alarm box 1769. The address 480 West 187th Street. That's Amsterdam Avenue, Laurel Hill Terrace, smoke apartment 1 boy, the 1st floor. 67.
All right, let me just interject on this real quick. Yeah, more than likely what was happening there, it's Billy Wade in Manhattan talking to 67 engine. More than likely 67 was getting relocated somewhere, and as they were going out the door,
they got a call for a phone.
That box came in and said, you know, they yell over, "Hey Bronx, hold up 67 and give them back to us." And then, you know, they kind of work out, you know, Rob DeMar, the supervisor in the Bronx, and I think it was Nikki Maxwell who had the tour in Manhattan, then they quickly converse and go, okay, well, we're not getting 67. Who can we get to relocate up into the borough to, fill whatever empty firehouse they were going to?
So how many 1045s was there total, Jimmy?
There were 63 1045s.
And how many code ones? How many people?
There was all right. 17. Originally, we were told it was 19.
Right.
And then I guess a couple of days later, they revised the count to 17. But like I said, it was 62 or 63 1045s, and Fieldcom is giving us, who's a green tag, who's a yellow tag, who's a red tag. They didn't tell us that there were any DOAs.
Right.
We were only hearing about that, through phone calls, or EMS is also in the building with us. So, some of the bosses from EMS are walking over and telling the supervising dispatcher, hey, you got, 15, 16 DOAs here. And, I'm sitting there hearing that and going, oh, shit, this is not the way I wanted to end my career.
I know.
I said it a couple of times that I'm like, I would have been, completely happy with like I said before, a row of taxpayers on like Boston Road or White Plains Road, up in the 15th Battalion. I would have been completely happy with that, set up the tower ladders and piss on it all day. This was, this was I mean, sometimes you get a 1077, you get a lot of phone calls on it, and you expect 1045s, or you're anticipating the possibility of 1045s, but there's no way you're expecting something like this where you have, 17 people. Unfortunately, I think 9 of them were kids, and being a parent, that just, gets you right there. So,
you know what, though? You know what? Oh, shit. I don't have anything left. Rock and roll, Pete.
Oh. There you go.
You know what, though, Jimmy? You may not want to go out of that way, but before we even, I put a face to you when we did, a little, not a critique, but we talked about that fire. Louis and I both said 2 things came out of that fire. The guys got their balls beat in, and they did a fantastic job. Because we could have lost a lot of our own guys.
63 people.
Yeah. And the other thing is, what a great job you did, man. Because, like we said, you were. I
appreciate that.
And we said that before we even know you. Like to have a job like that and have it go smooth like you did, it really opened my eyes to. I mean, I know the dispatches were important. This show in general, really, I learned a lot of things about the dispatches. Like we just said, like you guys really are, the first responders, the first of the first responders.
Right.
So,
and
like I said, if you had to go out, you did it in style, bro. You did a really great job, man. I gotta say,
thank you. I appreciate that. And actually, apparently, I turned into a friggin' celebrity because I went out to California a couple of days later. I'm hanging out at the LA County Fire Museum, and I'm talking to some guy, and he goes, I introduced myself, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a retired dispatcher. What's your number? And I'm like, 150. And he goes, you're that guy? Like, what do you mean? You were working? Yeah, that was me. Oh my God. You want to shake my hand and, buy me a beer and whatever.
Nice.
But
thank you for your service.
Yeah, right. Who I honestly felt bad for in the initial stages of the fire, and even later on after the 4th and 5th that got transmitted, were the 2 guys that had worked the voice alarm, Matt Gans and Rich Froelich. I mean, I'm sitting there just punching in 1045, 1045, 1045, 1045. Wow. And there's like 4 or 5 notifications we got to make. Obviously you got to notify EMS, but they're already there, so you don't have to notify the deputy chief because he's already there. Got to call the marshals, and I think buildings. Like I said, it's just it's kind of a blur. But the Bronx dispatches did a kick-ass job. From, like I said, from RJ and Liz taking the calls, to Rich York doing the relocations, to Mike Roz putting all the information in. It was a team effort, and it's more than just the one person talking on the radio. And like I said, my biggest concern that day was keeping the aides in either the 19 Battalion or the 7th Division from losing their friggin' minds. And an operation can go completely smooth, but if the dispatcher on the radio sounds like a chicken with its head cut off, it may not go that smooth. I mean, and shit could be going crazy in the back, but you're talking nice and slow and calm and whatever. That gives the guys out in the field that extra confidence.
No, well, think about that. Think about that guy, right? He's got 30 people laying in front of him, right? People are working on him. So he absolutely, I don't care how seasoned you are, you're going to be amped up because the chief is telling you, we need this, we need this, we need this. So he's going to be amped up. So he's going to contact you. And like you said, it's up to you because you're not seeing that stuff. You can, just the way you're talking to him, try and calm him down a little bit. And
you
tell
talk
him,
to him like you're having a regular conversation,
because I can't imagine. I mean, you know how it is. Coobs knows. You see that you can get amped up very easily, especially when you see, 4 kids in front of you that aren't breathing, and so. And
my heart really went out to the guy. I mean, it's obvious that your heart goes out to the people that lost families, and your sympathy goes out to them. But I honestly felt bad for the guy, the 8.
Oh my God, yeah,
in the 7th division. And I'm like,
all
after
those guys,
like a certain amount, and like I said, 48 and 75 took a friggin' beating trying to make that push down the hallway. Because, like I said, I saw pictures of it the following day, and I'm like, holy shit! And then,
all the
27
guys on the
truck
with aerials. Oh my God!
All those guys, truck, incredible. Going up the aerials, pulling kids out the windows, and
without a doubt, 50
people. And luckily there weren't too many guys that got hurt. I know a guy from Rescue 3 got fucked up pretty good, but other than that, we didn't hear much about that. And that was another thing that's kind of fallen by the wayside over the years. We used to get reports over the radio of, we got, 4 injured members, a guy from this company with a, busted ankle and going to this hospital. That's something that doesn't get done very much anymore. And I remember talking to some deputy chief. I'm like, when did this kind of go by the wayside? And he's like, I don't know, just kind of, they just stopped doing it. And you'd get the phone calls later. I had 5 guys go to Jacoby with, smoke inhalation and heat exhaustion. I was like, oh, well, thanks for telling us.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, that we did that show on that job, just to talk about it. And I talked to, I'm sure you talked to, I talked to guys who were at that job, and easily, without question, we could have lost firemen there because these guys had to go up to 15, 16, 17 on air from 2.
Right.
And then you could run out of, these guys were running out of air. There was no place to hide. You couldn't go in the, in the stairwell. There was, none of those places.
Stairwells were charged. Yeah. And then, God knows when 17 was going to get there with the vent support, and that probably added to it too. These guys taking a beating, doing the primaries and secondaries coming down from the top floors. One thing I did want to touch on, because I see we're getting ready. You don't have to be a buff to be good at this job. You really don't. Does it help to have a little bit of knowledge of the fire service? Absolutely. But some of the best dispatchers I worked with really didn't know all that much. And then there were some buffs that I worked with who were like awful. They could, rattle off, history like it was nobody's business. On this day in 1893, Battalion Chief Hard Suction farted in the middle of a fire on Worcester Street. But they couldn't tell you. They couldn't tell you what a towel ladder was or where a towel ladder was that ran him over in the street. Right. So getting
being a buff necessarily didn't help. But if you were a good dispatcher and a buff, it was an asset.
You had a little bit. Well, you had a little bit of an advantage. But don't walk in with your chest all puffed out that you're a buff and you're a volley out in East Cupcake, because you're going to come into a borough and you're going to get your tune up and you're going to learn a little bit of humility, because I sure as hell did getting my tune ups over the years, and I had plenty. Okay, rock and roll.
Hey, Koobies, what do you think?
The way that story started. I'm a big heavy metal hair band. I'm a huge Kiss fan, Metallica, Anthrax, so on and so forth. And I used to bring a CD player into work, and I'd sit there, air guitar and air drum and stuff like that. John Burke, who is now a supervisor in Queens, is looking at me in the other room, and he's like, the friggin' rock and roll supervisor over there. and
you go.
the name stuck.
Rock and roll supervisor.
You know,
yeah. Nice one, man.
I just
Watch
wanted to say, I saw some guys were talking about it in the chat about squad 270 had a first due job. 252 went to that box. So 252, when 270 is first due or second due or third due, 252 goes to them. 288, when 252 is first due at a box or second due or third due, 288 goes to Brooklyn. So each squad has a certain, like 252 will go to squad 1.
It depends. It depends on where the box is. All right. You know, all the squads have first, second, and third due boxes. And that's only recently. Like squad 1 only had first due boxes up until maybe like 6 years ago. And then the next up squad would go. Depending on where the box is, 270 catches a box first due or second due running in, we'll say, like 303, 308, 294. 252 is coming in from Bushwick to be the squad. And the same, up in the Bronx, 61 catches a first due job or second due job going over into Parkchester. 41's coming up, and 18 catches something first due. Squad 1 is coming through the Battery Tunnel, going into the Village to be the squad.
Right. If it's north of like certain street, like probably the Midtown Tunnel, then 288 was actually going there. I don't know if they stopped doing that.
Right. Squad 41 has a huge, like Squad 41 and Squad 1 probably have the two biggest response areas out of either one of them. And Squad 1's was even bigger before Squad 8 came along.
Right, correct.
They were going out to Staten Island, and unfortunately, there's a lot of times it was just an all hands, and they're doing pirouettes on the BQE.
Yeah, turning around, right.
Yeah, not getting into jobs. So having that squad in Staten Island has been, a godsend.
Yep. All right, Pete. Now I think it's that time, bud.
It sure is that time. And ladies,
what time is that?
It's time for the old school tip of the day, which tonight is brought to you by www.theburnbox.com. That's right, where you will get a monthly mystery box, a firefighter mystery box with all firefighter owned and operated businesses. So if you subscribe monthly, use this code Gettin Salty for a discount from www.theburnbox.com. Okay.
Coops, you said mystery box again.
I love mystery boxes, bro. You never know what you're gonna get in a mystery box.
Hey, this is a firefighter mystery box. Let's keep it family friendly. You filthy animal. All right, guys, and now you know what time it's for. It's time for the old school tip of the day. Take it away, Jimmy.
All right, firefighters out in the field. Come to the dispatcher's office, see what goes on, see how we do things, see why we do things. It's an eye opener to see what goes on and why things get done a certain way. Newer dispatchers, get out and see stuff. Don't rely on road maps, GPS, modern technology. Get out and see things. Associate firehouses with certain landmarks. Know what those firehouses bring to the table in the event of an emergency. Who's got a tower ladder, who's got a water tender or a brush fire unit. Geography, can't stress it enough. Geography, learn your geography, and for the love of God, be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. You'll eventually get it, and be patient with the public and be patient with the firefighters too, because that'll also be a huge help later on. And that's all I got for you.
That's great, Jimmy.
Nice one, man.
Thank you, brother.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
I learned a lot tonight, Jimmy. I really did. Different point.
I can't believe you still call 911 to get the cops.
That's
all right.
Absolutely blowing my mind.
It's the big takeaway.
And again, Jimmy, you went out.
That's the big takeaway. Are you fucking kidding me?
You went out as a consummate professional, Jimmy. That was great. Nobody wants to go out with that many 1045s. But like we said before we met you, we said you did.
And I've even said, if you know me, I was actually having fun, working that job. And and like I said, you never want to say you're having a great time when shit's going sideways, but I was having fun, and I really enjoyed working my last day when I did. I I was very fortunate. And I honestly think my brother John, who I lost just after Christmas from September 11th related cancer, I think he pulled a couple strings for me to get me, on the radio my last day. And,
God bless him.
Kind of looking out for his little brother. So
here's a picture of your mom and your brother.
Yes, this was in 2005 at my brother's promotion to lieutenant. This is at in the classroom at Randall's Island.
Well, rest in peace to him and to your mom as well.
Rest in peace. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
I like you with the Fu Manchu better, bro. It looks good.
Okay. I just figured I'd do this because I'm retired.
Okay.
Retiree scruff.
Okay.
But yeah, if you guys ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
I think we're gonna have a dispatcher game show soon. You versus the Beef. I'm putting it together. You versus the Beef versus Warren. We'll have a game show. Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, Waz gonna win.
You don't even know what the questions are gonna be yet, bro. You don't know
regardless of the questions. Okay. Like I said before, I was incredibly fortunate to have learned from Wah, but compared to some of the people that are working now, Wah and George Munch, they were on another level.
Listen, bro, we're gonna do universal questions. I'm gonna send you a buzzer. You're gonna hit the buzzer. We're gonna have a great time. All right, Ruffy, you got any shout outs, buddy? What do you got?
I don't have anything.
Oh, what about you, Pete?
I am all good to go.
Oh, wow. So Thursday night, we have a big show, right, Ruff? Tell them about it. Tell them about your buddy, your new friend.
Oh,
Ed.
Ed. You might call him Ed. We call him Chief Ed Kilduff. Chief of Department. One of the hardest, saltiest charges. He'll be on Thursday night. But Louis' buddy, Ed.
He's coming from, he's going to be in Chicago. He's by his daughter's house. So,
very cool. Yeah, man.
Yeah, afternoon, Petey. I'm going to give you a tickle. We'll set him up this way. We could test everything out because he's definitely a chief. He's
testing 1, 2, 3. He wants to get it in line.
Methodical.
All right,
no problem. Gotcha.
Sweetheart.
10-4.
All right, that's all I got for now, bro.
All right,
Jim. Hang loose. We'll catch you on the rebound there. Stay loose. Don't hang up.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks once again. Thanks for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
I actually got one small little tip. If an aggressive man who's very angry at you and was yelling at you in an audience starts to approach you, don't just stand there with your hands behind your back. You might get slapped in the face. At least have your hands out and create some space.
Square up.
Yes.
Yeah, create some space. You don't have to square up. You don't have to be aggressive. Just create some space.
Yes,
all right.
yes.
Anyway, moving on, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys are watching, you could also be listening. That's right, to the audio version only of our podcast. That's on iTunes Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. There is no subscription fee. It's totally free. So go on over there, subscribe, and you will get this right into your feed. And you could be listening to this on your way to the gym, in the car, drowning out the sounds of your children crying in the back, so on and so forth. Listen to us instead. Also, guys, youtube.com/Gettin Salty Experience. If you are here on our channel, do also hit the like, subscribe, and share button, where you will also get completely free content all the time. We got a lot of good things coming up, like the Squads documentary that we're working on. It's going to be very, very good. Mr. Kev is so entrenched in it, he won't even have me come meet him at the Rock. He's like, no. I got this.
I got it. Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. Okay, guys, if you're on Instagram, @SaltyDog Inc. is our handle, where Mr. Refrano curates the coolest firefighting photos, and they are vintage, awesome, cool firefighting photos. Definitely check us out there. GettinSaltyApparel.com. Guys, you know the deal. This is how it all got started. T-shirts, hats, hoodies, pint glasses, all kinds of firefighter apparel and accessories, the coolest in the game. Check us out at GettinSaltyApparel.com. Thank you to everyone who hooked us up in the super chat, guys. It means the world to us. It's really helpful, and it keeps the fire burning on this show. Facebook, guys, if you're on Facebook, go to Gettin Salty Fans page, where there are 30,000 fellow firefighting maniacs on there, just like you, who are making fun of me and the rest of the boys, sharing last-minute information about the show. You get all that stuff there. Also, guys, if you're out there on TikTok, follow us at Gettin Salty Experience on TikTok. We're posting some cool exclusive content out there. Guys, if you want to advertise with the show, gettinsaltyads@gmail.com. Shoot us an email there to get your business featured on the show. If you want to email the show, gettingsaltyexperience@gmail.com. That's for our Q&As. And also make sure to ask Refrano and tell Refrano what who needs to be the next guest on the show. He loves that. Loves it. Okay, and Coops Podcast at gmail.com for the firefighter Cup of Joe and Fuego show. For your firefighter, old lady pics, your fire photos, your rig photos.
Send them. I don't see any more firefighter. You guys don't want to be on TV? Come on.
Helmet cam footage.
Helmet cam.
Helmet cam footage. Yeah.
What happened?
All that good stuff. If you guys got it, send it. We can't just feature footage from Tivadar in Hungary, who we absolutely love. We want to maybe branch out to the FDNY once in a while.
Send it. If you're in bumfuck and you got to go to a job and you want to see your friends and you and your crew, A shift, B shift, whatever the hell it is, send it to me. Coops Podcast. And
Coops
also, if you want to send a picture of your hot old lady, send that too.
At gmail.com. All right. And that, my friends, is all the news. That is fit.
Awesome.
Prince.
Yes. Somebody asked about the new shirt. The kid was just working on it today. Follow the Smoke. Roofy's favorite. Coming out soon. That's all I got. All right. That's
Jimmy, it was a pleasure, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Likewise. Once again, guys, thank you very much for having me on. I would love to come back and maybe give,
doing it.
Like
Warren a piece
like
of
a communications. Not even that. No, it would be like this. Thanks, Walker. But it would be more of like getting like the dispatch's point of view on certain jobs and
absolutely.
things like that. I'd be more than happy to come back.
Listen, Jimmy, when I come back in my next life, you could bet I'm not going to tell a dispatcher to put me on a box. I'm going to say,
yeah, good idea. That would be a good idea. I would highly recommend not doing.
All right,
I might have said worse than that. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Leatherhead Nation. We'll see you on Thursday night. Big show. Until then, stay low and go.
All right, everybody. Let's go Rangers. See you at the big one.
Cheers, everybody.